Hi, this is FUAD ABASOV, a broker with Right at Home Realty, and this is your monthly real estate statistics.
Resale home sales ended nearly a year-long decline in January, posting gains for the last 4 months. Housing market continues to bounce back this spring as appetite from buyers is vastly outpacing supply coming from sellers. Monthly gains show demand once again outpacing supply. April's uptick is a hopeful sign that the housing market is adjusting to mortgage rates that are more than double what they were a year ago. Home buyers do not have an abundance of options. Inventory remains tight in many areas and is at historic lows. Consequently, multiple offers are happening on a good number of properties. With interest rates at the top and home prices at the bottom, it was not all that surprising to see buyers jumping off the sidelines and back into the market in April. The supply problem, along with demand being so strong, means we're still very much in a seller's market, and homeowners that can afford to wait have been holding on to their properties in hopes of getting a better deal. Some have been given relief on their rates as lenders extended the amortization of their loans to keep payments manageable. This is a buy-first market, and once you've secured something that is more suitable for you than what you already have, then you put yours up for sale. This housing market rebound isn't good news for the Bank of Canada, as the restrictive effect of past interest rate hikes isn't stopping the housing market from recovering well. Now, let's take a closer look at detached home sales in Toronto and surrounding areas. The average sales price of detached home in Toronto in April was $1.83 million, 6.9% decrease from April of 2022. The amount of sold properties was down by 8.7%. The amount of new listings was down by 27%. It took 14 days for detached home to be sold in Toronto in April. An average selling price of a detached home in Vaughan in April was $1.8 million, 7.8% decrease compared to April of last year. The amount of sold properties increased by 14%, however, the amount of new listings has decreased by 36%. It took on average 15 days for the detached home to be sold in Vaughan in April. Richmond Hill, an average selling price in April was $1.87 million, a 9% decrease compared to April of last year. The amount of sold properties increased by 28%, however, the amount of new listings has decreased by 39%. It takes on average 15 days for a detached home to be sold in Richmond Hill now. In Mississauga, an average selling price has not changed since last month and was sitting at $1.56 million, a 13% decline compared to April of last year. The amount of sold properties has increased by 3%. The amount of new listings is down by 35%. It takes on average 13 days for a detached home to be sold in Mississauga today. In Markham, an average selling price has increased compared to last month and was sitting at $1.89 million in April, a 1.7% decline compared to April of last year. The amount of sold properties has increased by 27%. The amount of new listings, however, decreased by 32%. It takes on average 13 days for a detached home to be sold in Markham today. Newmarket has seen increase in prices compared to March, and the average selling price in April was $1.33 million, a 3.7% decline compared to April of last year. Amount of sold properties was down by only 2.5%, however, the amount of new listings was down by 29%. On average, it takes 10 days for a detached home to be sold in Newmarket. The average sales price of a detached home in Aurora in April was $1.6 million, a 15% decline compared to April of last year. The amount of sold properties was up by 31%. The amount of new listings was down by 40%. It takes on average 10 days for a detached home to be sold in Aurora today. Innisfil, average selling price in April was $918,000, 11% decline compared to April of last year. The amount of sold properties has increased by almost 10%. The amount of new listings is down by 36% compared to April of last year. It takes on average 29 days for a detached home to be sold in Innisfil today. King City average selling price of detached home was $2.32 million in April, 13% decline compared to April of last year. The amount of sold properties has not changed from last year. The amount of new listings, however, was down by almost 8%. It takes on average 50 days for a detached home to be sold in King City today. In Bradford, an average selling price of detached home in April was $1.2 million, 10% decrease compared to April of last year. The amount of sold properties this year has increased by 124%. The amount of new listings has decreased, however, by 51%. It takes on average 20 days for a detached home to be sold in Bradford today. In Milton, an average selling price of a detached home is $1.38 million, 7% decline compared to April of last year. The amount of sold properties has increased by 2.7%. The amount of new listings, however, is down by 50%. It takes on average 17 days for a detached home to be sold in Milton today. In Stoufville, an average selling price of detached home increased by 10% compared to April of last year and is sitting at $1.74 million. The amount of sold properties has increased by 2%. The amount of new listings is down by 30%. On average, it takes 20 days for a detached home to be sold in Stoufville today. In Barrie, an average selling price of a detached home in April was $846,000, a 15% decline compared to April of last year. The amount of sold properties was down by 7%. The amount of new listings was down by 35%. It takes on average 17 days for a detached home to be sold in Barrie today. Canada has welcomed 1 million immigrants in 2022 alone, which means that 1 in 37 people living in Canada right now moved here last year. It is all about supply and demand. Canada has the lowest amount of housing per capita in the G7. To compound the problem is new immigration every year continue to drive up demand. The rise in prices drives up rental costs. We need to address both the lack of supply and to decrease demand. It's obviously something the current government is incapable of doing.
If you'd like to receive your own personalized sales report about home sales on your street or in the neighborhood, please call me at 647-801-3401 or email me at sold@fuadhomes.com. Thanks for watching and see you next month.